trade performance is really important because it is one of the major economic indicator that we use it to measure the economy. Besides that, we also have another economic indicator like inflation, unemployment, but trade performance is one of the major economic indicator. So what make the trade performance are really important because trade performance reflect the international reserve and also balance of payment. When we do trade, we get income, inflow of income and also outflow of income. When our export are more or higher than the import, then our international reserve will be more higher. And if we have more import than export, and then our international reserve will be decreased. So that's also the same with the balance of payment. If we have more export, and then our balance of payment will be increased or surplus, or if we have import more than export, and then our balance of payments will be decreased. So there are two important components of trade, which is import and export. What is import? Import is a foreign product that been produced by the foreign country, and then we import that product to our country. So the effect of the import is we receive the outflow of the income. So when we import, our income will go to another country. And another component of trade is export. Export is domestic product that we produce in the country, and then we export to another foreign country. And the result from export is we will get inflow of income. So the simple equation of import and export is if our imports are greater than export, and then our trade will be deficit. And if our export are greater than import, and then our trade will be surplus. For research question, we have two questions. The first research question is, what is trade performance pattern in Malaysia from 2011 to 2021? And the second research question is, what is the element that influence the pattern of Malaysia trade performance from 2011 to 2021?
My name is Ang Wei Ping and my merit number is 287528. Today I want to present our research objective. Our first objective is how does trade cause economic growth in Malaysia, and our second objective is what are the factors that influence the terms of trade. Now I want to present importance of study. Trade can promote more productive because we can export our product to other countries, so that means we also can import some product into our country. So means that we can more focus produce a product. And the second is higher paying employment in our export industry. And the third is increase the range of goods available for purchase by consumer and business, because we can export our product to other countries, so our range of goods become bigger. And the last is stimulate investment and accelerate economic growth, because the other country company have confidence for our country, so that they can make investment in our country.
My name is Raifan Dalila binti Mak Yusof. My metric number is 281177. So I will talk about literature review. Okay, first, according to Yusof 2005, Malaysia trade pattern has evolved significantly over the previous 3 decades, despite the fact that Malaysia trade orientation has remained relatively stable. Okay, Malaysia main commercial partner include ASEAN, the EU, East Asia, United States and Japan. Okay, trade connection with the United States and East Asia have strengthened, resulting in a rise in Malaysia international trade market share. Okay, next, Al-Yusuf from 1999. Okay, Malaysia economic growth was driven by export growth in the short term, so suggesting that export was important to the Malaysian economy. Malaysia has been rapidly expanding since the 1918, with the popular notion that exports are driving this growth. Okay, similarly, other research, Abdul Rahman from 2011 believed that Malaysia economic growth is mostly reliant on performance. The reliance on foreign trade demand was high, and it's become a crucial component in driving economic growth. And next, according to Gata from 1997, exports have contributed significantly to economic growth by generating foreign exchange and enabling economies of scale. For the previous 2 decades, export trends have been consistent.
My name is Siti Nurzaika binti Muhammad Zaidi. I will continue about literature review. According to Tang, 2002 has estimated that Malaysia import equation by disaggregating the import variable into import for consumption goods, import for investment goods, and import for intermediation goods using Johansson multivariate test and annual data. Firstly, by using annual data, all analysts discovered that imports and their drivers have a long-term relationship. Secondly, two methods of co-integration tests used by them are Johansson multivariate test, which is system approach, and ARDL, which is single equation approach. Lastly, the researcher estimate aggregate import demand function in Malaysia using three types of formulation. There are the traditional import demand function, which are regulating the value of imports on the level of real income in relative price, disaggregating the expenditure component into final consumption good, investment expenditure, and export, and use national cash flow variable rather than real GDP as proxy variable to real domestic activity. Following that, Goldstein and Hine in 1978 proposed an export model which is derived from the supply and demand for export. The relative price are expected to have a negative sign and the income of the importing country is expected to have a positive sign. They estimate for 8 industrial countries, which is Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The results show that the relative price and the income of the importing country are respectively found to have a significant impact on export. The income of the importing country is generally found to be an important factor that affects export. An increase or a decrease in the income of the importing country will lead to an increase or a decrease in export. Next, Dodaro 1993 thinks that empirical evidence on the relations between export growth and economic growth in Malaysia, especially the relevance of export in growth, are contradictory. The researchers evaluate the causation between export growth and actual production growth for 87 countries, including Malaysia, by using annual data from 1967 to 1986. The causation test yield very flimsy support for the claim that export increase boosted GDP growth in the majority of countries, including Malaysia. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, trade data was generated using custom declaration documents submitted to the Malaysian Department of Custom by exporters and importers. Malaysia foreign trade data are compiled using the general system of recording. This technique uses the country's national boundary as the border, exit, or entry for all export and imports. All products entering and exiting the nation are documented regardless of whether they are subject to custom clearance or tax. All items entering and leaving the region must be declared using a specific form with a defined category code allocated to each product. As argued by Act 2001, Cole and Elliott in 2003 has examined Malaysia's intention to become a developed nation by 2020 would necessitate significant economic development and expansion, particularly in the urban, industrial, and commercial sector. The ideals of sustainable development must govern economic progress. The country's ability to control and manage the environmental consequences of economic activity will ultimately decide the extent to which sustainable growth is implemented. As a result, it is expected that this finding will serve as a foundation for better resources and environmental policy planning, better data collecting, and the creation of relevant conceptual analytical frameworks. Lastly, according to Arif, in 2005, has examined trade with wealthy countries and currently helps Malaysia more, in both economically and environmentally. However, how long this will last is debatable. As globalization and trade integration gain momentum, international competition will become more intense.
Next is analytical review. Okay, export may be viewed as an economic driver in three ways. Okay, first, export deployment might serve as direct stimulant for increased production as a component of aggregate production, which arise in foreign demand for local exportable items, leading to an increase in total output via increased deployment and income in the internationally traded sector. Okay, second, increased export can have an indirect impact on economic growth through a variety of channels, the explosion of economies of scale, and the fostering of technical innovation owing to international market rivalry. Third, increased export can supply foreign exchange, allowing to higher level of intermediate good import, which in turn boosts capital creation and as a result stimulate output growth. During the previous 10 decades, the Malaysian economy been growing at a reasonable fast pace, while in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic reduced product trade by 18% and commercial service trade by 21% year on year. The COVID-19 has different effect on goods and service, which service been more severely affected. Okay, in the second quarter of 2020, service fell 30% while goods fell 23% over the same periods. Throughout major economies, demand for critical products remains stable. Service, unlike things, cannot be stored, hence the majority of income loss which be irreversible.
My name is Hazel and my mental number is 2X7. I'm going to present about 2.2 analytical review of factors that affect the trade of trade performance in Malaysia. First, trade barriers have an impact on Malaysian export and import balance. Import quota and export subsidy affect the relative price of share commodity, making them more or less appealing to import or export. Import tariff raise the cost of import goods, reducing demand. Second is exchange rates, inflation, and foreign currency reserves all have an impact on Malaysian trading performance. A strong national currency enhances the cost of export gold, potentially pricing exported out of global market according to exchange rates. Next, the third factor is Malaysia's trade performance is influenced by factor endowment. Land, labor, and capital are examples of factor endowment. Malaysia with trained labor could produce complicated electronics, whereas one with unskilled labor might focus on simple manufacturing. Besides, the next factor is demand have an impact on Malaysia's trade performance. For example, oil demand has an impact on pricing and trade balance in both oil-producing and oil-consuming countries. If the price of oil falls, a minor of imported overall import may fall. The oil exporter, on the other hand, may witness a decrease in exports. Moreover, a drop in income as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic also a factor. The COVID-19 pandemic have had a significant economic impact on Malaysia, particularly amongst vulnerable households. In July 2020, Malaysia's official poverty line was changed and currently 5.6% of Malaysian households live in absolute poverty. The administration is concentrating its effort on the poorest 40% of the population.
Now I want to present our summary for this research. As we know, trade is export and import. And export is defined as a good and service produced in a country and sold to another nation. And import is defined as the purchase of commodities and service produced in another nation. This means that the good and service is produced in others' country and we buy into our country. And trade is a buying and selling of product and service for monetary compensation or the exchange commodity and service between parties. This means that trade is using buying and selling the product or we exchange the good and service to another country. And the export climbed by roughly 3% in 2014 and decreased by about 20% in 2016 and rose by around 31% in 2018 and 4% in 2019. In addition, import climbed by around 11% from 2011 to 2014 and then declined by 20% in 2016 and 30% in 2019.
Trading has many advantages that countries trade with one another to obtain the products they need, and as a result, they are able to preserve a healthy relationship. Besides, a positive trade balance can improve the balance of payments and the balance of trade. There are two strategies that the government in Malaysia implements to improve the trade activity in our country, which are the visa policy and the ASEAN Pacific Economic Cooperation.
And now, I want to present my recommendation for this research. First is fiscal policy. For the fiscal policy, I separate into two parts. First part is government spending and the second part is export duty. And now let us start to government spending. The Financial Minister Tengku Zafrul Aziz 2021 has a budget plan and the government has committed record-breaking investment in the 2022 budget to encourage post-COVID-19 development. Even this budget plan is 2022, but for me, I think that this budget plan can use for our around in these 10 years to help us to increase our trade performance. This budget plan is based on three primary pillars. First is assessing people most affected by the pandemic, and the second is increase the resilience of enterprise, and the second is promoting sustainable growth. After finished for government spending, now I want to present my second recommendation is export duty. Exporting is the practice of one jurisdiction imposing tax responsibility on inhabitants of a different country. And my recommendation is we should decrease the export tax. Because if we reduce the export tax and the company production cost will be decreased so that the company can produce more goods with quality and they can have a competitive with other country company.
The ASEAN Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) was founded in 1989 as a forum for discussing the processes of ASEAN region interdependence. Malaysia has gradually contributed to APEC measures aimed to increasing regional mobility through regional economic integration. In the context of APEC, Malaysia has made a number of steps to increase openness in regulation, procedure, and administrative adjustment in a variety of areas, including customs, investment, intellectual property, and standards.